Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're really glad to have you here. Each year, the day is devoted to lovers of this game, and I know you all are. Lovers of the Hall of Fame. You love to play. You love to see people such as our two inductees today, McEnroe and McGregor, play. It's given us all so much pleasure. It's brought us closer, this game of tennis. And it all began in the United States right here at the casino in 1881, the first U.S. championships. And tennis has gone on here ever since. You're sitting in the world's elder tennis parlor, even older than Wimbledon. So enjoy yourselves because we have a marvelous afternoon for you. A lot of people I know you want to meet. And a ceremony, well, we have clouds, but let's call it a magnificent day, because it is. We have two men, both who nobly represented their countries, and what would be better than an Aussie and a Yank today? What could be better? Now, I'd like you to meet some people. First of all, the family of these two people. Win McGregor is here, the wife of Ken McGregor. Are you here, Win? Why don't you stand up? I wanted her to stand up because she's outnumbered by the McEnroe clan. But first, I'd like you to meet the two responsible for it all, Kay and John McEnroe Sr. Now, John McEnroe doesn't have quite as many children as he does major championships, but it's close. His wife, Patty Smythe McEnroe. And the kids, Ruby and Kevin, they're 13. Sean is 11. Emily's 8. Anna's 3. And where's Ava? Ava. Ava is 3 months. I talked to Ava earlier. She said, I'm going to sleep through the whole thing. Our official party today, I want you to meet them because we've got a great group here. These are among the gods and goddesses of the game. The Australian who won Wimbledon in the U.S. and carried his country to 3 Davis Cups, Frank Sedgman. A recent Hall of Famer, the Rosebud, although today she's the Lemon Drop Kid, Rosie Casals. Who else have we got here? Yes, Sarah Virginia Wade, the last known English person to win Wimbledon. Mother Freedom. She led the long way babies to prominence. Billie Jean King. 1951 Wimbledon champion, Australian champion. You'll hear from him later, but he is Dick Savitt. Going down to the other end, the president of the Hall of Fame, John Reese. Now, here's an upset. The USTA has been in business since 1881, and they decided maybe they ought to have a female as president. Wasn't that a good decision? Julia Levering. Hall of Famer Joe Coleman, who pushed the long way babies on their way. Wimbledon and U.S. champion Davis Cupper vexatious. Eric Hayden, who says that he could skate on this surface. That's how good he was. 5 gold medals, Eric Hayden. That was in 1980. You'll hear from him as well. And we're waiting now to introduce our inductees, but I'd like to point over there in that box are 2 very important people. Candy Van Allen, who with Jimmy Van Allen devised the idea of the Hall of Fame in 1954. And with her, a guy who changed the names of the game, changed the history. In 1938, took the long steamship ride to Australia to win that tournament. More steamships, the French, the Wimbledon Championship, the United States Championship in 1938. You put them all together, the Grand Slam, the original Grand Slammer, Don Budge. Our executive committee, take a bow of the International Tennis Hall of Fame, please. You're not going to take a bow? You're not going to stand up and take a bow? Why not? The term Grand Slam, there was a guy who made 2 Grand Slams. His name was Rod Laver. He wanted to be with us today. He's undergoing surgery. It's okay. It's okay. It's minor. Other guys' surgery is minor, as you know. But he wanted to be with us today, and he sent 2 messages. One to John McEnroe. Rod Laver says, John, your record is outstanding. In the world of tennis, you're indispensable. You were competitive. You were a winner, a crowd pleaser everywhere. And then he says, when your parents, Kay and John, put a racket in your hand, they did everyone a great service. That's from Rod Laver. And of course, he better not forget his countryman, Ken McGregor. Ken, Rod says, congratulations to you at Newport. Although you came a little before my time in winning those Davis Cups, you were an inspiration to all young Aussies. You made us look to the future and want to do what you had done. From Rod Laver. So as we sit in the grand old lady of Bellevue Avenue, the Hall of Fame, who has defied termites, hurricanes, and all sorts of travail, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? Yes, sir. There's no place like the casino. And there were very few players like Tony Trebert. Tony Trebert will preside over the induction. He won Wimbledon, the United States, and French, all 3. In 1955, went on to an illustrious professional career, and of course, you know him from his eloquence on television. Tony Trebert.
Thank you, Bud. Before we get started, ladies and gentlemen, may I ask you to rise, please, for the national anthems of the United States and Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, sitting across from us in the court are the friends of both Ken McGregor and John McEnroe. We welcome you and thank you for being here. As chairman of the International Tennis Hall of Fame Enshrining Nominating Committee, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Bill Talbot Stadium Court for the induction ceremony of two great players, Australia's Ken McGregor and America's John McEnroe. They'll be the 171st and 172nd inductees into the International Tennis Hall of Fame. From this moment on, Ken and John will join elite company and will go down in history as tennis legends. The International Tennis Hall of Fame is proud to pay tribute to these 172 men and women made up of tennis legends and contributors to the game of tennis. To introduce Ken McGregor, it's my pleasure to call on a former Australian and Wimbledon champion, three-time U.S. indoor champion, who was inducted into the International Tennis Hall of Fame in 1976. Please welcome Mr. Dick Savitt.
Thank you, Tony. I'm honored to be the presenter of Ken McGregor today to the International Hall of Fame. I haven't seen Ken in many years, and it's a great pleasure to see him again. Thank you, Joe. Ken was a great player. He had a terrific record. 1952, he won the Australian Championships. He won with Frank Sedgman the Grand Slam of doubles in 1951 and almost did it again in 1952, winning 3 of the 4 titles. And I'd just like to make a note that anybody that can carry Frank Sedgman to those doubles titles has to be a hell of a doubles player. Sorry, Frank. Anyway, Ken also had a great record in the Davis Cup. Unfortunately, he was on the winning team of Australia when they beat the United States in 1950, 1951, and 52, and Ken was an integral part of that team. He had a great record, played all over the world. Now I'd like to say a few words about Ken personally. Ken McGregor was the epitome of a real sportsman. Ken played hard, he tried like heck, he competed well, and he never did anything to bother anybody, never alibied. When he won, same as when he lost. He was the perfect person who played the sport in that period, and many kids all over the world have looked up to Ken. He was a hero in Australia, and wherever he played, he was a great credit to tennis. And I would like to now present Ken with a certificate, which officially puts him in the Tennis Hall of Fame. And so if Ken would just step up, say a few words, and I'd like to give him this certificate. All the best. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Dick. Firstly, I'd like to say how happy my wife Wynne and I are to be here with you all in Newport. And I'd like to thank the people of the Hall of Fame for the way they have looked after us since we've been here. Dick, thank you very much for your words. I wish you'd been as kind to that on the court sometimes when we played. But thank you for the nice words. I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate John McEnroe on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. What a fantastic record John has. I was reading through his record the other day, and actually I felt a little bit envious. Not because of the titles that he won, although they would have been good to win too. Not because of the money he made, that would come in handy also. But the number of times that he represented his country in Davis Cup really got to me. It made me think back to the days of our playing days in the 50s, when Davis Cup was the main thing that you could play in and represent your country in. But it made me think of a lot of the players of our era where they had to make a decision as to whether they would stay amateur or turn professional, which was a very difficult thing that we had to face. And I realised that I had actually only played 4 years of senior tennis before being confronted with a decision to make whether to turn pro with Jack Kramer, with my old mate Frank Sedgman, or stay amateur. It didn't take us very long to make that decision with Jack waving thousands and thousands of dollars, which is not much. They were peanuts compared to what they earn these days, but with thousands of dollars in one hand and against the 25 bob a day pocket money we were getting as amateurs, it didn't take us very long to decide to turn pro. So the fact that we then played a great tour of professional tour of your country over a period of 5 months. Thinking back on those 4 or 5 years that I was involved in the amateur game and played, they were really exciting years, having played in the great countries of the world and big cities and big tournaments. But the big thing was to me to think about the wonderful players that we played against, the good friends that we made, and it made me realise what exciting years those 4 or 5 years were. Walking through and it's no wonder that I look back on the 50s as the good years. The other day, 2 days ago, I walked through the Hall of Fame for the first time, and I realised what a marvellous history that you have here, and what a marvellous place it is. It really is great to go back and see the history of the game of tennis right from the start, right through to the present day. Thinking back of the 50s as the good years, and here we are in the 90s, and the excitement still continues with being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And all I can say is that I am very proud and very honoured to be included in the Hall of Fame. Thank you very much.
Ken McGregor, ladies and gentlemen. The gentleman here today to introduce John McEnroe is the greatest speed skater the United States has ever produced. He won 3 world championships and was the first person in Olympic history to win 5 individual gold medals. Please welcome Dr. Eric Hayden.
Well, let me tell you, it was an awful surprise when John called me up and said, Eric, you want to come out to the International Tennis Hall of Fame and induct me? And what an honor. I mean, what a privilege. But they told me I only had 2 minutes to talk about the guy who's probably the most controversial tennis player in modern tennis. So I got a big chore in front of me. I mean, here's the guy. He took whining to a new level. But all kidding aside, when I heard about this, I asked the guys out here, please send me a bio on this guy, because I went to Stanford, but John was on that accelerated graduation program, and in 1 year, he was gone on the ATP tour. So I didn't get a chance to see him there. I then went to watch him at Wimbledon, and John, I don't know what happened, but the guy never even made it out of the first round. So I had to figure out what McEnroe was all about. And when you look at his performances, shoot, the guy has 3 Wimbledon singles championships. He's got 4 U.S. singles titles championships, 17 majors in all. 1978, he was the NCAA champion. So he's got quite a distinguished record. Almost had 18 championships. What happened out there? I mean, Steffi, step to the plate, be a team player. And I don't say that lightly, because when you look at John's record, shoot, he's the consummate team player. Look at all the championships he won as a doubles player. And then also look at what he did for the U.S. Davis Cup team. I mean, Davis Cup in the United States was kind of languishing in the doldrums until John stepped to the plate. John stepped to the plate and served as a great ambassador for United States tennis from 1978 to 1992. That's something that we can be very proud of. Now, the funny thing was, when when I asked for the bio on John, they also sent me a video from some previous inductions, and I have a feeling they were a little bit worried that I might have that same volatile temper as our inductee here. But let me tell you, I won't go off. I won't chew some poor referee up one side and down the other. John's got that down. He's much more eloquent at that. I won't throw any tennis racket on the court. John certainly can do that. I would only be second best. How many afternoons can you remember, Sunday afternoons, turning on that TV and hoping to see the wizardry of John McEnroe playing against Borg and Connors? But I think deep down inside, a lot of us were just hoping for that poor line judge to make a call that John wouldn't agree with. You know, I think we ought to hold off on this induction until John apologizes to all those guys. John, I think induction means just having to say you're sorry. Now, when you look at Mac, I mean, he's no physical specimen. In his prime, the guy was only 5'11" and 170 pounds, so he was not known for his big serve. But I don't know if you ever have had a chance to play with this guy. He's got that southpaw spin. You think you got that forehand, and the next thing you know, you're ducking for cover as it comes towards your body. So he might not have had a great serve, but there was a lot of trouble to take care of. More importantly, he was known for his artistic shot making and those volleys that he could take on the fly. And that feathery left-handed touch. I mean, how many guys do you think had him lined up at the front net, winding up only to find that ball back on the other side in a spot where none of us would ever thought possible, and McEnroe walking to the back line with another point. Mac, I want to say, you know, as one of your good friends and on behalf of all your buddies, we are awfully proud of what you did in tennis and what you're doing now as a spokesman for tennis and as a family man. Tennis fans all over, including your buddies, shoot, we're awfully happy for what you brought to tennis, that unique personality of yours and that skill. When tennis needed a little spicing up and somebody that we could all relate to, shoot, there he was, the guy you could either love or you hated. There was no in between. You represented tennis well, and boy, you're awfully deserving of this induction. You've left a legacy here in tennis that truly will enhance the tradition and the history of this sport of tennis. Congratulations, John.
Stay seated. I know you guys are getting on in years. It's all right. Eric, do I really have to say I'm sorry? Judy, you're the first woman's you remind me of my mom, by the way, I must say. Similar hairstyles and hair colors, and it's awfully elegant, I must say. But Eric I saw you talking with him before. Is it true that I have to apologize to all the umpires of the world? What do you people think? That's what I thought. The hell with them. But there is one. Before I even start, because I'm gonna forget this otherwise, I'm gonna mention one umpire. There was thousands of them that attempted to call a match for me. And not one of them did a good job. It was unbelievable. But there is one guy that did. And I don't believe, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, has an umpire ever been put in the Hall of Fame? Has an umpire ever made the Hall of Fame to this point? Because I don't believe that's ever happened. But I want to nominate the late, great Frank Hammond. the late, great Frank Hammond, who was one, if not the only, the player's umpire. God rest his soul. If you're looking above, please, if the committee has any sympathy for John McEnroe, because I'm pretty good about this umpiring thing. He should be well considered. So God bless you, Frank, up there. He was part of that infamous match I played with Nastasi in '79 at the U.S. Open where he literally, if he could have gotten down from the chair, he was a bit overweight, admittedly. If he could have gotten off the chair, he would have gotten down on his knees and begged Nastasi to keep playing. He was begging him. He said, Ely, I don't want to do this. I don't want to default you, but I'm going to have to do it if you don't play in the next half hour. Hey, Ely. But Ely couldn't do that. So, I'm not really a forerunner. I mean, obviously, Mr. Nastasi knew a thing or two about questioning some calls, along with another guy by the name of Mr. Jimmy Connors. But we'll get to those guys in a minute. It's already been a great year for me, and I'm going to give you guys, because I think most of you people out there. And by the way, I want to say happy birthday to Mayor Dinkins over there. The great mayor of New York, David Dinkins. And apparently Virginia Wade as well. What a day. Virginia, stand up, because First Mayor Dinkins, because he really, he loves the sport, and this is what this is all about. The fact is that the people that love the game of tennis, and the mayor is one of those people, he managed to get those awful planes that were going overhead at the U.S. Open for so many years, get rid of those, so we can still hear ourselves think at this point in our lives. And Mayor, your forehand's pretty good. You got a little work you got to do on the backhand, in all honesty. But we love you anyway. So God bless. And Virginia, by the way, you've got to appreciate this day, because never again will an English player win Wimbledon. So that's quite an accomplishment, And also, I must give a thank you to Billie Jean King over here. Yes. Because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have equal prize money now. And Billie, when we first met, you probably don't remember this, but I was at Mary Carrillo's house back when. I was probably 16, 17 years old. And Billie Jean was trying to sell me on this idea called team tennis. And, I was a neophyte, admittedly, back then, but I said, there's no chance in hell this is going to work. I mean, let's be honest. And Billie, I got to tell you something. There's no chance in hell this thing's going to work. No, I'm kidding, actually. I'm kidding, because only Billie Jean King would have the desire and dedication and the tenacity. I must say, I've tried to emulate that over the years as much as I possibly can. It's not easy, but she is one of the fiercest and greatest competitors the sport has ever had. And she's still, I'm going to make myself, I know I'm old, okay, but I want to just let you know that because of my horrible effort a couple years ago in team tennis, I want to offer my services again for team tennis to get this thing going, all right? So if that means it means anything, because, okay, tomorrow, there's a match tomorrow. She said, all right. I've been practicing. If you notice, I was actually playing until the plug was pulled on me, so. And I thought that would be just such a wonderful thing, I'm fast forwarding a little bit, but some of you may know that my first major title was in mixed doubles. And I thought, wouldn't it be a great way to end it if my last was in mixed doubles as well? What could have been? Mary and I went over to the French Open. Is Mary Carrillo here, by the way? Well, she should have been here. All right, you can call men's matches, all that other stuff. Relax. You're one of the best. She should have been here. Maybe, well, she's here in spirit because the mixed doubles, was something that I ran away from for 20 years after I had my initial good start. It is now 1999. 20 years has gone by. So in the year 2019, will someone please call me if they're interested in playing mixed doubles with me again? I think I'll have gotten over Wimbledon by then. I have to say that I apologize to Ken McGregor. I congratulate him on being in the Hall of Fame, but I do apologize because, well, actually, Ken, if you think about it, when you look over there at the McGregor and McEnroe clan, you're aware of the fact that Australia, what does that have, 18 million people? So America, which is about the same size as Australia, has about 250 million people. So it's only fitting that I have 15 out of the 16 seats. So you guys have been dealing with that for centuries. I don't know if this is true. You look like you sort of disagreed with me, but, in the old days, the bad guys got tossed out of England a couple hundred years ago, and they tossed the bad guys to Ireland, I understand. They tossed the really bad guys down to Australia. So it's sort of fitting to me in a way that I am sharing this day with an Australian, because let's face it, the Australian tradition is absolutely fabulous in tennis. And McGregor-McEnroe, that's actually, that's pretty close. So congratulations on that, and I appreciate you being here. Yes. Yep. I'm going to give you a little history. I'm going to go back just for a second and give you a little history of how I got to this place, if you don't mind. I know that Fox Sports Net is like panicking already because are we all right up there, Barry and Leaf? Do I got 2 minutes more? Or? It's not easy to get it in 4 or 5 minutes, but I'm gonna plenty of time. How much time do I got, actually? Shh, close it down, McEnroe, quick. I feel like there's something in my ear. But I'm going to just give you a little history of how I got to the place, because I think, at least a lot of you tennis fans are aware of perhaps some of the accomplishments that Eric mentioned, the Wimbledon and U.S. Opens and the other events, but they're not sort of aware of the people that were critical to me getting to that place. So a quick little history, if you don't mind, because it started for me about, 8.5 years old. My parents joined a club about a block away. There was only tennis and swimming at the club. So I said, well, tennis sounds a lot better than swimming. So let's try this one. My parents over there, God bless them. Thank you. I'll never say this again, but thanks for having me. Thank you very much for having me. I sort of butchered that line over the years and admittedly overused it. And I promise you this will be the last time I ever say it, but thank you, because what it did was it gave me something to do to keep got a fair amount of energy, so I got to burn the calories, if you know what I'm saying. So are you doing okay over there, Mom? Yeah. She never had a whole lot to say. I gotta say, Mom, I love you, because you didn't seem to care one bit whether or not I won or I lost, or if I played for that matter. You kept telling me to get a damn education and do your homework and all that type of nonsense, which I'm trying unsuccessfully to tell my kids, by the way. And the only time that you actually did come to a match was when you expected me to lose. And, of course, when you need your mom is when you lost. So she was, the good part was that I knew she was there in case I lost. The bad part was that I thought I was going to lose all of a sudden. But, you have to take the good with the bad. And believe me, there's a hell of a lot more good, and there really isn't any bad, actually. It's beautiful. Thank you. I was fortunate enough at that particular time, a guy by the name, and I'm going to give credit to the first person, Dan Dwyer, who was recently nominated into the Eastern Tennis Association Hall of Fame, I think last year or the year before. He's probably not here either, huh? He was the first guy that taught, and I guess this is the reason why, now that I think about it. He was the first guy that ever gave me group lessons. He told my parents I had no future. Is that right? No chance to make it. And now he's the head of the Eastern Tennis Association, Judy, so I don't know what to make of that. After that, it was a guy by the name of George Seawagon, who became the pro at this local club, the Douglason Club, who I have represented, by the way. I must say I'm happy to see a couple of true representatives of the Douglason Club standing over there. And I'd like you to give a quick round of applause to Jim Malamy, Doug Saputo, and Andy Broderick, three of my oldest friends in the world. And they know what it was about down over at the Douglason Club. It was George Seawagon was the first person who told my parents, hey, this guy's not bad. Maybe you got something here. So he suggested to my parents that they put me in a couple tournaments. He also suggested that I go play at this place called the Port Washington Tennis Academy, which none of us had heard about, obviously. And supposedly it was this place where some clown from Australia named Harry Hartman was, you know. Well, little did we know how much of an impact Harry Hartman would have on my career. One of the earliest tournaments I ever played was at Forest Hill Stadium playing against a guy by the name of Larry Lynette, who was the best player or one of the better players in the East at the time. I watched him play before the match. I said, Jesus, I got to be honest, this guy doesn't look like he's all that great. I think I can handle this guy. And so I called my parents up. I said, don't worry about it. All right, everything's cool. I'm going to beat this guy. Just pick me up in about an hour and a half. That was including the shower and the stretching that I didn't do then. And he said, and after I lost 6-1, 6-0 in about 45 minutes, I had to reassess the situation just a touch. But fortunately enough for me, at that time, I was sent over to this Port Washington Tennis Academy, where lo and behold, I ran into two gentlemen who really changed. Ava, we okay over there? It changed my career, and I feel greatly contributed to the player I am today, one of which is Harry Hartman, who is in the Hall of Fame. You may have heard of him, the great Australian Davis Cup captain. I think Ken mentioned him in his speeches. He was a fantastic old man who had, fortunately for myself, actually had a falling out with the Australian Federation and had moved to Port Washington, Long Island. Now, why, I don't know, but thankfully he did. And he used to tell my parents and myself stories about the Davis Cup and how much it meant to him and the opportunities he had to work with the McGregors and the Sedgmans, the Lavers, the Rosewalls, among others, some of the all-time greats. And he also attempted to get me to work out a little bit harder than I wanted to. But fortunately, he had mellowed in his old age. He was a real tough taskmaster, but he mellowed. He saw McEnroe. He said, you know, I think it is why I feel so special today in a lot of ways, because I feel like I've been blessed by people who saw something in me and sort of, I don't want to say let me off the hook occasionally, because of course then people are going to assume that that they let me off the hook when I question calls. And funnily enough, I looked at the USA Today the other day, and Doug Smith had written something nice about me, and I appreciate that, something nice in the newspaper. I noticed a quote from my old man over there, my John Patrick McEnroe Sr., and he also said, something about, you know, I constantly told John to cool things out. You know, I really tried to get him to realize that it wasn't necessary to yell at the umpires. And let me just, I'm just going to take this out. Just, you know, am I in trouble yet time-wise? Let me know when I've got 3 minutes. Because I feel like I have such an opportunity here that I don't have with, you know, these, when I do the commentary work, you know. Let's go to commercial. We're lucky if we make it back for the first couple points in the next game. So But I see here, I don't know if this is true, Dad, but it says here, I must have said something to him 5,000 times. John, you can't do that. It's outrageous. It doesn't help you. It doesn't help your game. You'd be a better player if that was true. Now I want to just ask you, Dad, I love you greatly. Number one, I want to ask you, because, this is newspapers after all, so I've got to ask if that quote is accurate, number one, before I even comment on that, because, it's probably not true, right? It is true. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you, just to show you where, because, an apple never falls far from the tree. You've heard that saying, right? I'm going to show you exactly how he said that to me, okay? The 5,000 times he told me to get an idea of where I was coming from, okay? I'm going to step back a little bit. You ready? You can't do that! I've told you 5,000 times not to do that! So you see, there's a little bit of my parents in me, whether they like to admit it or not, but I do take full responsibility. I take full responsibility for my actions. The other person who I wanted to mention, who was the instrumental force in my career, I believe, taught me how to play this game, and taught me how to play it in a way that I actually really appreciated. To try to play the game in a different way, to be aggressive, to take the ball on the rise, to take chances, and to try to play a game where you would use almost a mathematical, analyze the match mathematically, where you would, I'm sorry to see one of my daughters crying. I don't know what I said there, but we're falling to pieces here as we speak. But first of all, I want you, Tony Powell Fox, I want you to please stand up right across the court here. There he is, Tony Powell Fox. And also his wife, Leslie, is sitting right next to him. Leslie Powell Fox, yeah. And she's English, and she understands what I was saying about Virginia, so it's not going to happen for a while. But Tony actually just told me that he won the Newport doubles here in 1959. He won the Wimbledon doubles in 63? 62, 63, I believe. He was part of a Davis Cup team with Mexico, the late, great Rafael Osuna, who's in the Hall of Fame, in was that 63 as well, or 66? 63, yeah. But more importantly, so his credentials spoke for themselves, but more importantly, no matter how many times I freaked out while we were working together, Tony, never once did he raise his voice. Never once did he look at me and said, "This guy is absolutely insane." How could he possibly care as much as he cares or get this upset? And he sort of sat back, and he even got to the stage a little bit later in my career when I was about 19, where he said he noticed that I'd altered my serve, where I used to serve straight head on, suddenly I was standing sideways to the court. And so what Tony did was he didn't tell me not to do that. He actually he went back to his house. He started to serve sideways himself to try to figure out maybe there's something to this. Now that to me is I fell into it, by the way. It was complete luck that I did that. My back was bothering me. I started leaning over and sort of thought, hey, this relieves a little bit of tension, so this is cool. So it was complete luck that I sort of fell into that stance. But Tony adapted, and that to me is a sign of a great coach. And Judy, by the way, because I'm hopeful that someday we can do something together, if you know what I'm saying. Number one being at the Flushing Meadows, which we have a great opportunity, I must say, to do something fantastic. It's the type of people like Tony Powell Fox who will be a great benefit to our young kids of America to teach them how to play this game. So one more round of applause for you, Tony. Thank you. I also want to thank, next up, I want to give a thank you to someone who's not here, but my brother's over there. I don't know where he is. I try to get in touch with him, but Carlos Gaffi, wherever you are, just remember the phrase, just toughen it out. Just toughen it out no matter what happened. That's what he said to me. How do I play this guy? Just toughen him out. This guy's got a huge serve and volley game. Just toughen him out. That's it. But it works. So Carlos, wherever you are, thank you. I noticed someone in the corner who I've got to give a minute to as well. And that's an old friend of mine, an old supporter of mine, Mr. Gene Scott, over there in the corner. Gene, stand up for a second. Gene Scott. Because Gene Scott was like, well, I hope this is an insult, but sort of like an uncle in a sense to me, because he had taken Vitas Gerulaitis, who by the way, God rest Vitas Gerulaitis' soul. He was someone who I looked up to greatly as a kid, and I hope someday will join me in the Hall of Fame. One of the great characters that tennis has ever had, Vitas Gerulaitis. And I noticed that Gene, in his younger days, would sort of take some of the up-and-comers in New York under his wing. Gene, you're best known for being the best friend of Richard Raskin, and I don't want you to go down in infamy with that. You all know who Richard Raskin is, right? Yes. Later, Renee Richards. Ooh. Real quiet all of a sudden. And I didn't see Gene much after that, so. But I want to personally thank you for helping me as a youngster, because if it wasn't for people like you, I wouldn't be in this position right now. There's a couple other people I want to thank, one of which is, and I wish he was here, Dr. Irving Glick, who is a great fan of the game of tennis, is the doctor at the U.S. Open. Yeah, give him a round of applause. God knows he deserves it.
Well, this speech that you're listening to live was supposed to be wrapped up about
Dr.
20 minutes
Omar
ago,
Fareed,
but
God
knowing
rest
John
his
McEnroe,
soul,
as we all do,
my
he is
first
still
Davis
holding
Cup
forth, and so
doctor.
we're a rare opportunity
I think they
here
were
to go
probably
live
the
to
two
center court
nicest
and hear
people
from the
in the entire
man
United
who
States of
is
America,
being
Dr.
inducted
Irving
right
Glick
now
and
into
Dr.
the
Omar
International Tennis
Fareed.
Hall of Fame. We're on Fox Sports Net,
And David Mark,
and this
and
is
I
John
can't help but bringing your name
McEnroe, a
up as
live
well.
induction speech as we speak.
David used to run things at Kalamazoo, which was our national 18 and unders. Is that planned? Did you plan that? And David was very nice to me. I've got to bring this story up because it's a very memorable story to me, at least. But I was in the first round of the 16 and under nationals, second game of the match, and they had these light posts in the back of the court, and I thought, they got to be 15 feet from the baseline, so there's no problem there. And I was playing a guy by the name of Rocky Royer, and he hit an overhead that was way over my head, but I was determined to give it my best shot. And I'm running back. I look back. I see this light post. I say, no, I'm not going to hit that. I'm going to hit the ball first. And right as I was about to hit the ball, smack, head first into the light post, the old fall over, pass out, unconscious. Friends of mine jumped on the court. It's part of the Junior Davis Cup team, who hopefully, I'm not going to mention each and every one of you guys, but it was a great experience to be part of the Junior Davis Cup team. And Bill McGowan, who was the coach, I haven't forgotten you. You know, you had an intensity to you that I appreciated. But at any rate, I wobbled off the court. It had to be, 30, 40 minutes later. David says, you ready to play now? And now, I don't think in these day and age, David, we were just actually talking about it yesterday, that David said that the rules don't, is that another rule that I caused to change? I'm single-handedly responsible for about 15 rule changes in tennis, which is probably the only, I might time up to about 2 minutes. Just when I was getting going. What we got? Who's playing? Are they getting all hyped up there? The semifinal? Can they wait a little bit, or 1 minute. Well, for all of you that I don't mention, I apologize, because I will mention them later. But, David, I have to say, you know, when we used to go over to JDC to your house, I'm going over a minute, by the way, so the hell with you guys. It was the barbecues that really got me the most, I must say. When we had to listen to you talk about the state of tennis, that will be something I never forget and I hope never happens again. I've got to be honest. But my favorite part was when you're up on that big top of that platform. Hey, guys, quit cheating down there. If I don't see you, if you keep cheating, I'm going to have to default you. But I won't mention names. I won't mention names. I'm going to fast forward now because there's a couple people that I'm not going to, that I probably will forget. I'm gonna briefly mention my favorite and best buddy that I had on the tennis circuit, and the favorite doubles player I ever played with, Mr. Peter Fleming. There he is over there. The perfect partner for me and the perfect friend to have. We'll speak more about that later because apparently I'm a little pressed for time. And apparently it was Fleming, of all people, because he's coaching this guy, Lawrence Thielman, who was apparently in the semis. Oh, Lawrence Thielman fans, great. And all of a sudden he wants to play now. So Peter has sent word that I must cut my speech. But I still appreciate your friendship, Peter. I see looking straight across, I've got to mention another guy who I think is quite possibly should be destined for the. I'm gonna finish up in just 2-3 minutes, Bob. Okay? Jesus, these network people are unbelievable. When I went to college, there was a guy by the name of Dick Gould, who I must say thanks to Coach Dick Gould of Stanford University. And yeah, absolutely. Don't cut this part either. My 30-minute speech is going to be a 20-second snippet on Fox Sports West later. Dick Gould, I believe, should be in the Hall of Fame because you know why? He's won approximately, I think, 15 or 16 of the last 22 years. Stanford has won the national title 16 times the last 22 years. It's probably more than that. And we need to encourage people to stay in college a little bit, don't you think? Yeah. It was the best thing that I ever did. My buddy over there, Bill Mays, I've got to say, my doubles partner at Stanford University. Bill, stand up for a second. I've got to mention my great, Bill, thank you for, blowing that match in the NCAA semifinals. That's okay. I can say that now because supposedly I'm this great doubles player. So anytime a loss took place, it was their fault now. So, where's my brother Mark? Did he just split or something? There, Mark, stand up there because he's the only guy I've never won a doubles match with. That says something. But Mark, I've got to say I love you because this is one of the very few instances where I can honestly say there was not a jealous bone in my younger brother's body. He's 3 years younger than I am. I sense a tremendous amount of support throughout my career. And I want you to know how much I appreciate that. Diane, his wife right here with their beautiful new baby, Kieran. And Mary Jane, Diane's mom in the back, it's great to see you here as well. I think you're in the back. There she is, Mary Jane. Nice to see you. And he was someone who was always there for me, so I appreciate it. And I've got to say I apologize because I couldn't win a match, on the senior tour. We were 0-3, but I'm not giving up yet, okay? I got tossed by Steffi. You gotta keep trying. You never say never. My brother Patrick McEnroe here. Yeah. My brother Patrick McEnroe was a great player. Well, that's debatable. And he's also a great commentator. So I'm proud to have him as part of Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. This guy won the French Open doubles. He's gotten to this. As a matter of fact, my favorite line that he ever said was when he got to the semifinals down in Australia back in '91, I believe is that year. And he was in the semifinals along with the guys by the name of Ivan Lendl, Stefan Edberg, and Boris Becker, and Patrick McEnroe. So, yes, well, absolutely. He was asked, how does it feel to be in the semifinals of this Grand Slam event? And he said, what, are you surprised? I mean, what do you expect? You got Lendl, Edberg, Becker, and McEnroe, you know. And Patrick, I love what you had to say about me last night. It was a beautiful speech, and I always appreciate it. The last couple of people, the late, great Arthur Ashe up there, God bless your soul. Tony Trebert, I want to say a special thank you to you. Tony was my first Davis Cup captain, and he was my best Davis Cup captain. He knew how to press my buttons in a positive way, and I pressed his buttons in a positive way till about our third year, when I pressed his buttons in an unpositive way. And I want to apologize to you, Tony. and I will apologize to the umpires now because I'm in a very apologetic mood. I want to make sure that I don't forget anyone here. I'm right at the end, but I've got to bring up my great rivals, Bjorn Borg, number one. That damn Jimmy Connors. David Markin, who was one of my was the head of the Davis Cup committee I mentioned. Gordon Jorgensen, I have not mentioned. I want to thank him for being behind me. Joe Carrico, the late Joe Carrico, who was had the guts to pick me, and Tony as well, the guts to pick me to go down in Santiago, Chile, my first Davis Cup match in 1978. I'm going to look real quickly, so hopefully I haven't forgotten anyone. I want to say how much it means to me to be here today. I had an opportunity. I bombed out in Newport in '77, and it made me hungry because I got off the semifinals of Wimbledon in '77, where I had this tremendous run. It changed my life entirely, the '77 experience. I came back to Newport, and they tossed me out to one of those outside courts. And I lose to not Vijay Amritraj, but Vijay's brother, Anand. So I always wanted an opportunity to come back, and I did get that opportunity one other time in 1991 playing Davis Cup here against Spain. And it is a beautiful place. It is a beautiful place. It is a great place to have the Hall of Fame. I couldn't be happier to be here today. I want to thank you all. And there's one last person. Oh, you want me to do a couple more? Or Ruby, my stepdaughter, you look absolutely beautiful. You are wonderful. And I want you to know that you are a very important part of my family, okay? I want you to know that. Along with, that's Ruby Smythe Myers, the beautiful Ruby Smythe Myers. Needless to say, the love of my life, Patty Smythe. They've already been mentioned. Kevin, you're looking handsome as ever, but could you sit up a little taller, please? Emily, the beautiful Emily there, the 8-year-old. Sean over there, my 11-year-old son. Anna's crying somewhere in the back. But I'm going to mention one other person because I think tennis is it's really about not just how much you accomplished perhaps at Wimbledon or the US Open or the Davis Cup, but it's for people that love the game of tennis. So as my final word, I'm going to suggest that as a final Hall of Fame person, we put her in before she passes away, Miss Dodo Chaney. Dodo Chaney, Okay? She never won a Wimbledon, or she never won a, U.S. Open. She was maybe a quarterfinalist or one of. But hey, Bud, thank you. Bud just told me she won the Australian Open, which is quite an accomplishment, even though it was the junior mixed doubles. But that is, and Bud, thank you for loving the game of tennis. And I've got to take your temperature. I mean, Dodo Chaney, by the way, has won 301 national titles. So let's think about that. But I've got to take your temperature, my dad. What the hell is wrong with your outfits today? You almost look normal, you two. God bless everyone. Thank you very much.